It's 3:25 in the morning in Dhaka. It's raining, obviously. Behind us, workers are still working, garment workers. They're going into their 20th of work. We've seen this in a drive around Dhaka. We've seen this in maybe a dozen factories tonight. These workers will work until 5 or 6 in the morning. Maybe they'll get an hour of sleep, and then they'll start another shift, which will be 14, 15, or 18, or 19, or 20 hours. It's hard to imagine that in the United States, it's August. People are on vacations. It's August in Bangladesh, and these workers are working 20 hours a day making our clothing.
Do we ever stop to think who makes the products we buy? Do we ever stop to imagine the human face behind the label? All across the developing world, the workers who make our products are young people. 80% of them are women 16 to 25 years old who are locked in factories and forced to work under harsh sweatshop conditions. There are 1.8 million garment workers in Bangladesh, in 3,600 factories, sewing over 900 million garments a year for export to the U.S. All the giant U.S. retailers produce there. This is the human face behind the global economy, which the companies do not want us to see. Each day, the workers walk to work, at least an hour round trip, because they cannot afford the 10 to 15 cents it would cost to take a bicycle rickshaw. Each morning, there are tens of thousands of women streaming down the streets on their way to work. And again at night, in the pitch darkness, when they're let out at 10 or 11 p.m. The standard shift in these factories is from 8 a.m. until 10 or 11 p.m., 14 or 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. All overtime is mandatory. On average, the women receive just 2 days off a month. When there is a rush to complete orders before a shipment must leave for the United States, there are grueling, forced, all-night, 19 to 20-hour shifts from 8 a.m. straight through until 3 or 4 the next morning. At the end of the shift, the workers curl up on the factory floor next to their sewing machines and sleep for 3 or 4 hours before their next shift begins at 8 a.m. It's not uncommon to be forced to work such all-night shifts 2 or even 3 times a week. The workers can be at the factory up to 107 hours a week. The women are exhausted and sick. Their families are collapsing and their children are left alone since they're never home. No one worker sews an entire garment. Everyone is a specialist. The garment flows down an assembly line and the worker repeats the same operation hour after hour, day after day. The factory assigns a daily production goal which the worker has to meet. For example, a worker will be given 8 seconds to sew a button on a shirt. That's 7.5 buttons a minute, 450 buttons an hour, 4,500 buttons a day. For more complex operations, like sewing a pocket, the worker might be given 1 minute to complete each operation, or 60 an hour. The pace is relentless. The supervisors, mostly men, patrol the assembly lines, constantly pressuring the women to work faster. The women report being cursed and shouted at, and even being slapped, punched, and hit for working too slowly or making even the smallest perceived error. The sewing operators are paid 11 to 17 cents an hour, as little as $5.28 a week. The helpers, the young girls who clean the garments by cutting off the loose threads, earn less than 8 cents an hour, as little as $3.84 a week. These are starvation wages which trap the workers and their families in misery. In fact, in the developing world, the corporations have almost wiped out the cost of labor. The women are forced to work 5 or 6 hours overtime a night, but often the companies only pay them for 2 hours. When the workers ask for the wages they are owed, they are attacked, beaten, even imprisoned. The factories are hot. In the summer, temperatures can soar to over 100 degrees. The workers say that their clothing is often soaked with their sweat. The air is heavy with dust from the cut cloth, which the workers are constantly breathing in. The workers are not allowed to talk. They must ask permission to use the bathroom and are limited to 2 visits a day. And the bathrooms are filthy. The drinking water is dirty, and the women often suffer from diarrhea and dysentery. The women are cheated of their legal maternity benefits. There are no sick days, no health insurance, no pensions. When the women reach 30 or 35 years of age, they are fired. The factory managers feel they're worn out and want to replace them with another crop of young girls. Since there's no proper place to eat, the workers have to take their lunch sitting on the roof, exposed to the burning sun or to the rain. The workers have no rights. If they are even seen meeting with union leaders, they are fired. If management discovers that the workers are trying to organize a union, they will be beaten, fired, and often imprisoned on trumped-up charges.
Most of the workers are female. Only a small percentage are male. The biggest problem are overwork and the filthy bathrooms. The problem of working nights is a big one. In some factories, they have to work 15 to 20 nights a month, often until 3 a.m. or later. The women are separated from their families, especially the ones that have children, and this creates a lot of problems. The supervisors don't listen to anything. As the women get older, the bosses say they can't meet their production target, and so they are fired. They get harassed in the factories by the supervisors. They get harassed in the streets when they go out of work at 10, 11, even 3 a.m. at night. The women are made to work harder than men and are pushed around more. Their lives are tough. The thing is that they have no time for themselves, no life.
For the free consecutive yeah, I know. He came back at the early morning and again going back. So 3 days, he has not a single hour to sleep.
শুরু থেকে এটা আমি চাকরি করি তারপরে শুরুতে এক মাসের মধ্যে বেতন দিতে 10 তারিখ
I haven't gotten any money, 2 months wages, 3 months overtime. In March, the owner said he would pay us on the 20th, but they didn't. We then went into the street in front of the factory. The police came and beat us. They beat us and a lot of women got hurt. They took some of us to jail. We never got paid.
আমার এইখানে বাড়ি লাগছে
আমি গার্মেন্টসে চাকরি করছি
After working 20 years in the factory, I was told that my eyesight wasn't perfect anymore and I couldn't meet my quotas the way young workers could. When they finished using you, they just throw you away like an old rag. They eventually fired me.
Disney, Walmart, and the other U.S. companies try to tell the American people that we shouldn't get confused, that 11 to 17 cents an hour might not seem like a lot of money in the U.S., but don't forget, we are talking about Bangladesh, one of the poorest countries in the world. In Bangladesh, they say, you can live fine on 11 to 17 cents an hour. But a visit to the homes of the workers shows what a cruel lie this really is. The workers are trapped in abject misery, living in tiny, one-room, 10 by 12-foot huts. Their houses are put together with thatch, scraps of metal, wood, plastic, and cardboard. Often they have dirt floors, and others are built over pools of stagnant water and sewage. Five to 10 people share one room. Inside the huts, the workers all sleep crowded onto a raised wooden platform about the size of a king-sized bed and a foot off the ground. When it rains at night, the roof leaks and the workers can't sleep. They have to roll up their bedding, which is often just a paper-thin straw mat, and huddle together in a dry corner or under a piece of plastic. During the rainy season, which can last from June through October, the workers' neighborhoods flood. Many homes are flooded, and the workers' sleeping platforms are often just inches above the stagnant, filthy water. Malaria is rampant. In these worker neighborhoods, 15 households totaling 80 to 90 people share one outdoor water pump, one primitive outhouse, one gas stove with 3 or 4 burners. There is never any privacy. The women bathe under a water pump with their clothes on. In the morning, when everyone is leaving for work, there are long lines to use the pump, the outhouse, and the stove. If a worker gets sick, a visit to the doctor and buying medicine could cost more than $5. That's 4.5 days' wages. The workers can't afford this, and so they just don't go. So women workers in Bangladesh who sew clothes for some of the largest companies in the world, like Disney and Walmart, have never seen a movie, never ridden a bicycle, don't own a fan or a Walkman, have never been able to go on vacation. It does not have to be like this. The women told us that if they could earn just 34 cents an hour, they would be able to climb out of misery and into poverty. With 34 cents, they would be able to feed their families one decent meal a day. Of course the corporations could afford this.
You can say World Bank, IMF or WTO, as a prescription of these financial institutions, they are giving us prescription, they are advising our government, they are advising our people to stop our basic industries. Because if the basic industry of Bangladesh or third world stop, then the multinational companies and financial institution can start their new industry. This type of sweet shops of garment factories, they can start. They are always in favor of owner and they are always in favor of the capital. They never in favor of the workers.
My name is Mahamuda Akhtar. I am 18 years old. I have been working for 5 years at the MNC factory. We saw a lot of clothing for Walmart. The general working day is from 7:30 in the morning till 9:30 or 10:30 at night. Sometimes we have to work all day and night. Last month I had to work 15 nights till 3 a.m. But there's no break between night and day. At 3 a.m. we can sleep on the ground in the factory, but we have to start working again at 7:30 a.m. There's no opportunity to go home. The whole month working night and day, and I just got 1 day off. If there is any stop in the work, they start yelling. The heat, there is no rest. If we do anything, they start beating us a lot, almost torture. They go too far. Last month, I worked over 100 hours a week, but I got only 1/3 of my overtime pay. How does that work? We owe them? No, they steal from us. I have to work to survive. I guess that's my fate. I have to work hard to eat. I don't have any time to myself. I just work all day.
Walmart likes to present itself as a company with the same values as a small mom and pop company. And you say to Walmart, you say, well, wait a second, aren't you respecting human rights and work rights? And they say, of course, we have a code of conduct, we monitor these factories, we guarantee that every product in the Walmart store is made under humane conditions where the rights of the workers are respected, their human rights, their hours, their wages, their health and safety. We say to Walmart, fine, you're proud of these factories? They say, of course we're proud of these factories. But in one factory, you can clearly see that the garments are produced for Walmart. They're faded glory. They're heavy winter shirts, padded winter shirts, men's shirts, selling for $19.97. Not every factory in the developing world looks like a dungeon. These factories are relatively new, modern, well-financed. They look relatively clean and safe, with acceptable lighting and ventilation. But in this factory that was producing for Walmart, we know the conditions were brutal. The workers were forced to work from 8 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock, 14, 15 hours a day. They work in 7 days a week. They hadn't had a day off in the last 9 weeks. The workers were paid 11 to 17 cents an hour. They were beaten, slapped, screamed at, cursed at to work faster, to reach their production goals. They have absolutely no rights. If they try to defend themselves, they're attacked, fired, beaten. They were paid 6 cents for every $19.97 Walmart shirt they made. This was a sweatshop. How do you think Walmart sells those goods for such low prices? Walmart claims they have a commitment, an advertising commitment. They're going to roll back prices constantly. Well, what they're doing is they're rolling back human rights standards all around the world. They're rolling back wages and benefits all around the world. Walmart's $219 billion a year in sales exceeds the government revenues in Bangladesh by 55.5 times. In other words, Walmart is 55.5 times larger than the government of Bangladesh. Walmart doesn't pay 1 single cent of taxes there, not one, not even a cent. What it leaves behind is the 7-cent wages. What it leaves behind are broken young women. We better look at Walmart, because Walmart is our future.
For the last 3 years, Lisa Rahman has worked in a factory sewing Disney garments. She lives in one room with 5 people, her old parents and 2 young nieces. Her rent is 750 taka a month. That's $12.84. This might not seem like a lot of money, but Lisa only earns 14 cents an hour, $6.72 a week. Her rent amounts to nearly 2 weeks' wages. After paying rent, she's left with just 53 cents a day to survive on, which is impossible. The garment workers in Bangladesh live from hand to mouth, from day to day, and no one has a cent in savings.
My name is Lisa Rahman. I started working in garment factories when I was 10 years old. Now I work at Shah Maktoum. For 3 years, I have been making Disney clothes, working until 10 at night, and I still earn only 1,700 taka a month. They don't give any wages. They cheat us on our overtime pay. If I tried to say anything, they would yell at me and shout, "Work or leave." I told them I came here to work and that they should at least pay me for the work I do. They said to me, "Work, meet your production target or get out." Once a supervisor dragged me away from my machine to teach me a lesson. There is no place to eat in the factory. The water is dirty. We sit on the floor and eat, and the whole place is really dirty. The stairs are narrow, and there are no fire exits.
What happens when workers ask that their rights be respected. Young teenage women in Bangladesh sold these Disney garments for 8 years under abusive sweatshop conditions. These women finally had enough, and they stood up and they asked that their most basic rights be respected. They wanted to be treated like human beings, not like animals. So they said to Disney, stop the beatings, give us 1 day a week off, pay us our wages correctly, pay us our maternity benefits correctly. Disney's response was to pull its work from the factory, to cut and run, and to throw the women out on the street with nothing, penniless. This was the worst thing Disney could have done. These workers needed these jobs. The message that Disney was delivering, not only to the women in the Shah Makhdum factory, but all across Bangladesh, to 1.8 million garment workers, and indeed throughout the developing world, is that if you dare ask that your most basic rights be respected, you too will be fired and thrown in the street with nothing, left penniless.
Here are the faces of the Shah Makhdum workers. All 350 Shah Makhdum workers have written Michael Eisner a letter asking that Disney return its work to their now much improved factory. Here is what they wrote.
January 15, 2003. Dear Mr. Eisner, we, the undersigned workers, appeal to you with our hearts to return Disney's work to our factory, Shah Makhdum. You know very well that Bangladesh is one of the poorest countries in the world and that we need these garment jobs very much. We worked so hard for 8 years sewing Disney's clothing at our factory and we did a very good job. Why punish us now that we have asked for our basic rights to be respected and when so many big improvements have been made in factory? Shah Makhdum is a very good factory now. Conditions are better than ever. We like working here and our rights are now respected. If we lose these jobs, we'll have nothing. But we know that if you could think of us for only a few minutes and understand with your heart and humanity the reality of our lives in Bangladesh, you would not hurt us. We are human beings. You would not want to punish us by taking Disney's work from our factory, especially now that our rights are respected and we are able to work with dignity. With the return of Disney's work, Shah Makhdum can and will become a model factory. Please do not walk away from this hope. May God bless you. Thank you. Sincerely yours. Mrs. Kushum, Mrs. Jharna, Mrs. Asma, Mrs. Sabina, Mrs. Salma, Mrs. Amina, Mrs.
I think American people in general, they don't know what is going on in the factories in Bangladesh. But those companies that buy clothes from our country, they know what is the reality of the country. And they always try to keep the Americans, general Americans, in darkness. And I want to say to the companies that they are buying the very cheap blood from Bangladesh.
Each year, scores of workers are injured or killed by fires, unable to escape because the doors are kept locked. On November 25, 2000, at 7:30 at night, a fire broke out in the Chowdhury Knitwear and Garments factory on the outskirts of Dhaka. The fire hit the electrical system and suddenly the lights went out. The air filled with smoke and the workers were in complete darkness. Screaming, the women ran for the exit, but it was locked. They couldn't get out. 51 workers died that night, most of them teenage girls. 8 were between the ages of 10 and 14 years old. In the United States, did we hear about this fire? Did we do anything?
অবশ্যই আমি বয়কট চাবো না, আমার দেশে কাজ চাই,
Of course, I don't want a boycott. We need jobs in Bangladesh. But we want the American people to put pressure on their companies to make the factory owners respect the rights of our workers. Then the women will be able to speak out and organize to defend themselves. We're asking the American people for help in doing this. They can help because they are buying the clothes that our workers are making. So they have a responsibility to ask the companies how these women are living their lives.
I think the American people, they can play an important role to change the workers' life in Bangladesh. As because these people, American people, they are consuming our product. And they are also cheated by the multinational companies. You have to ensure at least the living wages. You have to ensure the better working condition, health and safety. And you have to ensure not the forceful overtime work or force work. I mean, you have to stop the labor slavery.
Without laws to protect fundamental human and worker rights, corporations are free to pit American workers against desperately poor people in the developing world in a race to the bottom based on who will accept the lowest wages, the least benefits, the most miserable living and working conditions. It does not have to be this way.
I don't know where these workers get the courage, the humanity. They're so incredibly decent. They'll take you right into their homes. They'll tell you the story about their lives. They're not angry about the people of the United States. They're not angry about the first world. But we owe these people.